For most of the year, we've been following the dry, hot conditions that started with a warm winter. Now, data from a new study shows the severe snow drought was made 4 times more likely because of human-caused climate change.
9 News reporter Rachel Krause spoke to the researcher here in Colorado about that study and why the results are so concerning.
Across Colorado, weather has wrought a challenging year. Wildfires sparked this summer come after a warm, dry winter. At Colorado School of Mines, computational hydrologist Adrienne Marshall has been keeping a close eye.
Yeah, certainly.
So she looked at extreme weather events like heat waves and applied the same tools to snow conditions, comparing current conditions to historical ones, wondering if this year's extreme drought was caused by climate change.
Unfortunately, we found that this year's snow drought was made about 4.5 times more likely across the western U.S. And if we zoom in on the upper Colorado River Basin, we see that this year's snow drought was about 14 times more likely because of human-caused climate change.
Those results published this week in a study in the Proceedings of National Academy of Sciences.
I wasn't entirely surprised to see that these conditions were impacted by climate change. I was a little bit surprised by the magnitude of the results, like just how clear the signal was. If we think about that in terms of the missing water across the western U.S., we're missing a volume of water in the snow that's about the size of Lake Mead.
Marshall says the models they used here may offer a glimpse of Colorado's future if greenhouse gas emissions don't drop.
We saw that conditions like the ones we've had this year would be about 3 times as likely as they are now by the 2050s. And then by the late 21st century, conditions at least this bad would be more common than not.
Conditions Marshall hopes will be combated with action. Otherwise, these extreme winters might start to feel normal.
They're conditions that we should prepare for, so we should think carefully about how do we want to adapt if we have more years like this.
Marshall says what can be done to combat climate change and lower greenhouse gas emissions is a big question, one that'll ultimately be decided by political scientists and action from governments around the globe. But she hopes her data can be helpful in showing the science behind the problem and help find solutions to turn this trend around. Rachel Krause, 9 News.
I think the solutions too, Rachel, that is key. We need that.
Yeah, and paying attention when the data is showing stuff.
All right, Rachel, thank you.